Welcome to the SuperStar Communicator podcast. My name is Susan Heaton-Wright, a leading impact, speaking and communications expert. My aim is to show you how to make an impact so you will be heard, listened to and respected for career success. Listen weekly to the podcast and go to our website, superstarcommunicator.com. Hello everybody, this is Susan Heaton-Wright from SuperStar Communicator. Do you know, this podcast is about communication, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. And I'm really intrigued by my guest today, who is Kass Thomas, who's an empowerment coach and certificated facilitator worldwide. She works using the Access Consciousness tools and has written a book, Dancing with Riches. Now, what is really interesting is that quite a lot of the work that I do is systemized, or I use my neuroscience background, but I think it's fair to say that Kass uses intuition and the energy from that. So I hope you enjoy this. Kass was really keen to be part of the Black History Month that we are celebrating and recognising in the United Kingdom in October. So sit back, enjoy. So welcome, Kass. Thank you very much for sending your book, Dancing with Riches. You have such a background treasure of different cultures, influences. How has this made an impact in your work?
In my work, it actually gives me, thank you for the welcome, first of all.
Oh, that's all right.
It's a pleasure to be here. We started talking, so it's like the continuation of the engagement. And in my work field, the really global approach to people, to communicating to different languages, different cultures, is always like a curiosity for me. How is it that they live their lives? How is it that they see the world?
Yes.
And what is the, there's so much that we have in common. So what is the difference? And, and always inviting people to acknowledge that their difference is actually a gift. It's not a wrongness, it's not something that's wrong. Yeah.
But you have had a locational journey, really, haven't you? Because you started in Boston. Tell us a little bit about living in Boston, because a lot of the listeners here are from the United Kingdom.
Yes, well, New England is Boston, Massachusetts, right? And it's the one of the first development places in the U.S. In the United States, and it's really a lovely town. And I didn't know, Susan, until I moved to Italy, actually how small Boston was. I didn't know that there were less than 1 million people there, because it's such a huge, environment, you know what I mean? But the population is actually quite small. So living in Boston, growing up in Boston was great. I didn't grow up anywhere else. And, and although I did visit Oklahoma a couple of times, but really it's a place with a large number of universities, right? So there's and very casual dressed, the university people, they're always in jeans, etc. So education was really for me one of the priorities in growing up, and especially thanks to my dad, who had to get his GED, which is after if you don't finish high school, you have to, if you want to go to university, you have to do a test. So my dad was really, quite insistent. You absolutely not only have to finish high school, you have to go to university. And so everyone thought I would go to university in Boston, but because of really my desire to explore the world a bit more, I thought that staying in Boston would be a little small for me. And I chose to go to university in New York. which, 10 million people. So-
Gosh, yes, what a contrast. And now you live in Italy and you're presumably bilingual.
Yes, I'm actually trilingual. I when I was in the eighth grade in when I was 8 years old in the third grade in Boston, there was a teacher from Ireland who was there, and she would write on the board in French, "Good morning, today is Monday. Bonjour, aujourd'hui est lundi." And when I was 8 years old, Susan, I said, at the end of that year, one day I'm going to move to Paris and I'm going to
Yeah.
learn French. So I did, yeah. And choosing the university, New York University, NYU, allowed me to do my junior year abroad in Paris and travel around Europe. And it was really as it always is, a continuous and evolution of exploring different languages, different cultures. I moved to Spain before going back to New York to finish university. I moved to Spain for 2 months and learned Spanish, and at 21, you can learn it quite quickly.
Yeah.
So when I moved back to New York, I was fluent in Spanish and French. And my
Sorry.
dad was quite happy.
Sorry, I've got a terrible cough.
No,
Sorry,
very.
do carry
Is
on.
that your body communicating something to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, to
Yeah.
take a
Sorry,
swallow,
sorry,
swallow.
carry on.
No, no, absolutely. And I do a lot of, our bodies. It's so funny. We were talking about my first book and about the 7 steps to flawless communication, and the second step is talk to your body. So there's so much communication that we receive actually from our bodies, and a lot of times we interpret it and define it as a cough or a cold or a pain, and it's always our bodies communicating some kind of reaction to us. You know what I mean?
I
So we
think
were
in
talking
my
about,
case it's because I've got a flu virus at the moment.
yeah, but also, are you someone that's interested in languages?
Yes. Yeah, I am. It's interesting because I worked really hard at languages, but they didn't come easily to me. And as an adult, I realized that processing I can talk it and I can got good accents, but processing when other people speak to me in the language is what I find difficult.
Right. So, I mean, that's when, and what was is that true? And maybe the body, when I was talking about languages, started
Yeah,
coughing in that moment
yeah,
because
I
it
thought,
hadn't
oh
coughed
my
since
God, she's
then,
going to
and
speak
it
in
hasn't, and it
Spanish.
didn't cough, and it didn't cough before then. So, what is the body communicating
Yeah.
to you? Maybe you have more ease with languages than you're willing to acknowledge, darling.
No, I've got less ease. And, I went on to be an opera singer, where, of course, we have to sing in different languages and know what we're talking about. So I
Yeah,
had to work jolly hard at that to remember everything.
absolutely. I love that. Vincerò, vincerò,
Sincero!
vincerò.
Brilliant. But this is about you. This isn't about me. I think it's really interesting that you're talking about how we are aware of our bodies. And very much central, in my opinion, to your book is the idea of being in the moment and being aware when that little voice is going off that could be misguiding you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talk about the 5 senses, that we have, the hearing, the sight, the smells, the taste, the touch, right? And that sixth sense, right, is that what you were saying. I love the way you said it and communicated it too, with the body and the way the body's communicating to us, that intuition, that gut feeling. You know what I mean? So how much is that sixth sense something that actually connects us all, and
Yes.
communication, when communicating with people and choosing which words to use, which language to use, how quickly to speak, how slowly to speak. If you allow your body actually to give you, if it's coughing or if it's feeling pain or if it's feeling really relaxed, then that's probably the exact way to communicate with someone.
And you talk about intuition. Now, I am a firm believer in listening to that intuition, that little voice. But one thing I always worry about is that maybe there's some unconscious bias going on.
Absolutely. And you know what you can use, and I use these tools in the
Oh,
Dancing
please.
with Rich's book. I talk about how people can have more communication with other people, dancing with the riches of their lives, right? And questions. You could just ask yourself, Susan, a question. So, truth, is this my intuition, or is this some kind of point of view or judgment that I have that's giving this voice inside? And see which one of those responses warms your heart, expands your, you know what I mean, your chest, makes you smile. Truth, is this my intuition? If you feel relaxed and breathe deeply and say, and feel happy when you say that, then that's the truth. That is your intuition. Is this my intuition? If a frown comes on your head and you start coughing, maybe, or you start frowning, probably it's
Hmm.
not your intuition. And that is a
Yeah,
way to communicate with your sixth sense, your intuition, your gut feeling. Yeah. It's a
that's a brilliant tip because sometimes we can jump in there and it's almost putting everything into the conscious, the present, so that you can make an informed decision.
Absolutely. And you know what other tip that yeah, I love to share is that we have a capacity to pick up on what other people are thinking.
Yes,
Right? You know that, right? So in asking this question, is this mine? Oh, I'm thinking I've got, a lot of, thoughts going on in my head. I'm really, feeling a little down. And just ask, wait a minute, truth, is this mine? And if you start laughing or smiling or you feel light, you're like, oh, that's just my communication capacity to pick up on what other people are feeling. Okay. So you don't have to solve it. And this is something that is really important because a lot of times we feel like, oh, maybe we need to go into a, session of some kind, or maybe we need to take some medicine, or maybe we need to do something. But perhaps it's just your communication capacity to pick up on what someone is feeling at
mm,
that moment, or
mm,
someone is thinking at that moment. And how can you utilize, if you're willing to recognize that as a capacity, we say in Access that 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not yours. They're actually you picking up on someone else's.
yes.
So when we're talking about communicating with other people, how can you utilize that capacity to communicate with more ease with people? Does that make
And
sense?
it makes complete sense. We are so influenced by others, aren't we?
Yes. And instead of necessarily being influenced by others, how can we be in communication with others and see things from their perspective?
Yes,
A lot of times somebody might say something to you that feels like a judgment. Oh, no, you're wrong. Oh, and we might go into reaction. But if we
yeah.
stop for a moment and say, let me look at exactly, take a deep breath in. Exactly. Very good. Take a deep breath in and say, okay, so where are they functioning from? You're wrong. I'm not a nice person. That might be what they're saying. You know what I mean? So if you, instead of going into reaction, what? I'm wrong. What are you saying? Blah, 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 blah. Right? It's like, well, I see that you are a nice person. And so you start an engagement with someone and a communication with someone that can open up many doors of possibilities and opportunities that if you go into reaction and aren't connecting with your instinct, your inner riches, then you really limit what you can create in the future.
And you talk about being versus doing. I would say from what you have just spoken about, this is an example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times, Susan, people don't want to access their awareness. They don't want information, really. Because once you get information, you think you have to do something. Oh my goodness, they're feeling sick. I have to do something. So a lot of times we just really put up these barriers and these walls and block people out and block information out because we don't feel like we don't have time. We don't have, to do something. But what if you actually didn't have to do anything? What if you just being aware of someone is already the greatest gift you could be? Being aware that someone's ill, or being aware that someone's sad, or being aware that someone is in a panic mode. How much can your lack of resistance to them actually give them more comfort and more ease? Yeah, it's so
by,
interesting.
by being in the moment, being there for them rather than that little voice going off.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, you talk about three doors. Can you explain that? This is in the book. It's easier for you to explain it than me trying to understand it.
Thank you so much for reading the book, first of all, and also for remembering that. When we have an awareness, just like we're talking about, when we have something comes into our vision, our light, where we recognize something in someone, or we recognize something going on in our lives, or with our bodies, whatever, in a relationship. A lot of times, door number one, right? We say, oh my goodness, maybe that's me that did that. Oh my goodness, why haven't I ever recognized that before? Oh no, I must have been stupid. Oh no. And it's going down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
it's making you wrong. You leave the present moment to go into the past and look at all the times you were not able to be as present in that presence that you are at the moment, right? So you, oh my goodness, why didn't I recognize that before? And then you go away. And that's why you didn't recognize it before. Door number one, I call it. Door number two is, wow, isn't that interesting? And then you keep going and you forget it or no long or don't engage with it at all. And door number three is saying, wow, that is interesting. I wonder what else is possible now. And just with that one question, you open up door number three and you see millions of different doors that perhaps you've never seen before. And I have
Wow.
so many. I mean, I know we have a short thing. I have so many examples
Oh,
of
please
that.
share an
Yeah.
example. I'm sure listeners would love to hear an example.
Well, sometimes, if we are functioning from a judgment, either of ourselves or someone else, or a fixed point of view, we actually don't see all the things that are possible for us, or all the things that are going on. I mean, we know we will be playing this during Black History Month, right, in the UK. So I can give two examples.
That'd be great.
One, two. Okay, so one example is I went back to Boston, and I was with a dear friend of mine there, and we were in a cafe. We were in line at a little cafe restaurant, and talking. I was so happy to see her, and we're talking and we're talking, and we're the first ones in line waiting, and the woman, the hostess, um, calls the people from behind us to go and seat them first. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." To that woman, I'm so sorry. We were talking. We're here. We're ready. She said, "Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you." And she accompanied us to the seats, to our seat. And my girlfriend said to me, "You are just incredible." Because Boston was known for, I'm not sure if it is now, racism, you know? And she said, I totally didn't think she wasn't seating us because we were talking. I thought she was seating the guys behind us, because they weren't of the same color that we were. And she said, and the way that you are, with what else is possible with this door three, is just something incredible. And you changed it totally the way our lunches, because now I see it from a different perspective. So it's really an invitation for people to see things from a different perspective. If you think that because you're in a place and they don't understand your language, then when you speak, you know what I mean, they're resisting you, or they don't like, blondes, or they don't like black people, they don't like blue people, However, if you're being in presence and
Yes.
willing to approach things in a different way, that's quite different. A girlfriend of mine from Nashville, we met at my house here in Rome, but a girlfriend of mine from Nashville, she's an amazing singer too. She was in India, and there was she was in India and she was in a hotel, and there was an attack from Pakistan, and they killed all the people that were sitting in the restaurant there. And she was shocked, and she couldn't figure out how to get out. And somebody came out of a door that she didn't even see, because she thought, okay, I'm going to die. So once we have, okay, why did I even come here? Why did, so going down that door number one rabbit
Yeah,
hole,
the rabbit
see,
hole one.
right? Or being in shock and not
Yes,
willing
of
to be
course.
present. And the door opened from the kitchen that she didn't even ever see that door, that it even existed. And she was able to escape. And now she's got a gorgeous body. She's here and, she's back in the States. But what is it that doesn't allow us to see things from a different perspective? And that's a bit in the book what I invite people to. It's a how-to book, really.
Yes. Oh,
How do
definitely.
you change your perspective so that you can really open up your world to have different possibilities? And I love life, and I love to invite people to connect with their being, their inner self, so that they know that you belong here. We all belong here. This is planet Earth. We're home. And so anyone you meet, even if you don't speak the language they speak, even if you look different, even if you're different cultures, but you're all home in the same place. And that's my invitation to people. And the last chapter is about living life with a purpose, or living life purposefully. Yeah.
Brilliant. I've got a couple more questions. You say about the power of truth, and again, I can interpret it, but I'd much rather get your words for this.
Absolutely. Well, truth is something that is without thoughts, without judgments, without expectations, without projections, without separation, without rejection, without exclusion, without any of that. Truth is the universal, the stars, the moon, the sky, God, Allah, Buddha, the angels. It's just the pure essence of what is true, and that what people decide is truth is different for everyone when they are interpreting that through the filters of their mind, a bit
Yeah.
like you were talking about with the language. So if you say, when you ask a question, truth, do you really want to be here with me? Even if you just think it, you have excluded nothing. You have included everything. And what you hear really is communicated to you in such a pure way that you know if it's the truth, or you know if it's an invention or a lie, you know? So just a tip for people: when you ask a question to someone, ask first, even in your mind, truth, will you marry me? Or will you can I
Ah,
can I have this job? Did you call me? Whatever, and play with it, because it actually is about exercising that muscle of really being able to see and live your life from a very different perspective. And that's what I like to invite people to. And it's awesome, not only in relationships, but also in business, also with money. you know
yes.
Truth, if I is this the job that will create more in my life? Truth, and your instinct, your intuition will get activated. So funny, a guy that's here in Rome from France, he's an amazing business manager at an international bank, and he came to do sessions with me. I do private sessions, and because they said to him, "You are a great manager. You structure, you plan, and you execute it, but you don't seem to have any connection with your intuition." like especially in times of change in this period of the pandemic, there the adaptability to whatever the atmosphere is that you're in, the circumstances that are going on, if you're willing to really connect with you and follow your intuition, then you can create success no matter what's going on in your relationships, in your communication with yourself, in your business, and in your bank account.
And bank account, I think, is a big one for many people, isn't it?
Yes. So funny. I did it. I got I told you I have the 7 steps to flawless communication, my first book, a teacher's program. And I did an intro with a guy from Argentina. He's a teacher as well. And we did the topic of the intro, 7 steps to flawless communication with your bank account. It was hysterical, Susan. I didn't, I said, he chose the topic. And I was like, okay. But there's so much. Communication is really the essence of every part of our lives. So how is it that you're communicating with your bank account just because it might be at a negative? You know what I mean? At a negative. Are you saying, oh, well, I don't have any money? Is that true? And are you willing to actually convert the negative to a positive and expand it even more? Yeah.
Superb. So before we finish, one of the things I always ask my guests for are 3 top tips. Now, this really, based on our conversation, would be related to intuition and listening to your inner voice and to be able to access opportunities.
Absolutely. And we've been sharing them with it. So I would love to just say, listen to your heart. Okay. Put your hand on your heart. Don't forget to breathe and ask yourself, what is going to create more for me today? Who am I today? And what is it that will create more for me today? And see what shows up in your world. Start your day. That's tip number 1. Start your day, your morning, connecting with your body, communicating with your body. A lot of times we have to jump up and go to the loo, right? Uh, but you can take 10 seconds to just move your wrists, twirl them around, move your ankles, right? Take your knees, move them to the right in your bed and your head to the left. Taking 10 seconds to connect with you in the morning, no matter how much you have to do, will completely change your day, will completely change the approach that you have to your day. Communicating first with you and your body, and then beginning your day. And please write us, write Susan, write me, let us know if you tried it. And it takes just a few seconds. The other thing is a lot of times people have, the other tip I'd like to give is a lot of times people have really problems. Something might be going on physically with the your body. Something might be going on physically with someone in your family. They might be leaving, transforming, dying. Something might be going on with your job. If we're totally focused, so focused on the quote unquote problem at the moment, right? Then we cannot see some of the different opportunities that are available to us to um, resolve that or to choose something completely different, you know? And so, what I love to invite people to do is to go up with your mind like 3,000 kilometers up in the air and look down at the situation and see if that problem is something that is going to stop your life or if it's something that is just in passing and it too will move on. When I first came to Rome for the first time and stood near the Colosseum, I said, how can people ever think that the problem going on in their life today will not pass when you're standing in front of something that's over 2,000 years it's been here and it's still here, you know? So that is the third tip. And the second tip. And the third tip is really recognize that you are never alone. You may want to be, but you are never alone. There are so many people on this planet, but there are also so many um, elements on this planet. There are trees that are alive, right? Especially when they've got leaves on them, you know? There are birds, there are animals, there are children. There are so many people and things that are available for you to not ever feel alone. And please, if you love someone, if you care about someone, don't hesitate to tell them. Send them a note, because it's important for people to know that they're not alone as well and that they're appreciated. And you might think it's obvious. You know, people say that to me all the time. Oh, I know you know this, Cass, but, and I'm like, you know what? It might be a moment where I'm not remembering it. So
Yeah.
please don't hesitate. Yeah. And that's an invitation for other people also to acknowledge you, so that you know that the people have your back, the world has your back, and the planet has your back. Yeah.
That is a really, really good thing to remember. So, listeners, I hope that you will reach out to somebody and make their day,
Yeah.
because we don't know unless you say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, before we finish, I have got your book here. I hope you can see it, Dancing with Riches. Can you say a little bit about what it's about for the listeners and how they could order a copy?
Absolutely. What are the riches? A lot of times people think riches are just about money, right? And it's a how to book in the various areas of our lives, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our body, our relationship with others, our partners and family, our relationship with money, our relationship with business, right? It's really sharing the many experiences in my life, in all of those areas, and how I lived them and how I sometimes might have thought that I was making the wrong choice, but how utilizing the tools of access, you can find the right choice for you. And the tools of access are so easy. It's not the answer, it's the question. You are the answer. So that's what the book is about, and people are really grateful for the book because I've had so many experiences, a lot, and so it does show people how to, in a very easy way, recognize what the riches in their life are, what the wealth in their life is, and the various pillars of our life, the various spokes on the wheel that we call life, are addressed in the book, and how you can really utilize those tools to strengthen those spokes in the wheel so that you can continue on your journey called life with ease and joy and glory.
Brilliant. Now, I know that you can get it from all online booksellers. And what I will do is to make sure that I put a link there with the notes for this particular podcast. So
Absolutely.
that people
Schiffer Publishing, and they also have a distributor in the UK, so you can get it on Amazon .co.uk. Yeah, also.
brilliant. And how can people contact you if they want to have a chat with you?
Absolutely. Well, actually offered 15-minute free sessions for people interested in those spokes of the wheel in their life. And they can find that on the number 3steps.us. Um,
Okay.
and of course on kassthomas.com or on dancingwithriches.us.
I will make sure that I include all of those in the notes for this particular episode.
I'm so grateful, and it was such a pleasure, and I'm so glad that your body is happy.
Ah, thank you so much for your time, Cass. I have really, really been enriched by our conversation.
And you can
Thank you.
dance with the riches of your life.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You. Grazie.
Grazie. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Isn't Cass a wonderful interviewee? So much content there. And remember, there is a transcript and we do a summary of some of the main learning points. Also, all of her information on how you can contact her and to purchase the book are in those notes. One more thing before we go. Every month I deliver a complimentary lunch and learn about something related to communication. So as we speak, I'm preparing a how to say no with impact. And previous months we've talked about public speaking or how you can show credibility. If you would like to be kept informed of the topics and to register for them, please go to superstarcommunicator.com/webinar-interest. And I look forward to seeing you there. So until next time, this is Susan from SuperStar Communicator. Thanks for listening. You have been listening to the SuperStar Communicator podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and review the podcast on iTunes and on apps. Please contact us if you want to discuss any topic, could suggest a topic for us to include, or a guest who could come onto the podcast. Go to superstarcommunicator.com.